Yo, yo. What up, guys? Stop barking. Yo, yo. What up? Took a break from Facebook and Facebook Live over the holidays, but I'm back. I just kind of... Yeah, I know. Cali's really nice. It's actually really hot right now. Where are you guys tuning in from? Where are you guys tuning in from? Yesterday, I was getting out of my car, and I dropped my phone, and it is shattered, and I'm really annoyed, and my phone is doing this thing again. No. Yo, yo. Alright, I'm gonna go in the office. See if I got better lighting in there. There we go. Yo, yo. Where's the lighting? Yo, 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 yo. Bay Area, Missouri. I'm in debt. Well, we should fix that. Chicago. A lot of people, I was talking to my buddy the other day, and a lot of people were, I just feel like there's so much misinformation about credit right now, and I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is. I don't understand why people don't understand it, but that's kind of why we should be talking about it. Because at 21, I have two, $100,000 cars. I have A1 credit, and I've only been building it for 3 years now. And so it's a big deal if you do not understand it, because what credit is going to allow you to do is within, your entire lifespan of an entrepreneur. And I wish I could fix this lighting issue, but I think it's my phone camera. Whenever people don't understand credit, you're gonna have a situation where you are not gonna be able to maximize on being an entrepreneur. You're not gonna be able to maximize on your marketing. You're not gonna be able to maximize on your investing, on your general quality of life. Credit is gonna allow you to do all of those things, and it's gonna allow you to get some free stuff because you understand it, and you understand it, number one, and number two, because it is what it is. But so my buddy was trying to get an exotic, and he was saying, he's like, so many people tell me different things about my credit. I have bad credit. I need to fix my credit. How do I do that? So I'm going to give you guys a step-by-step process on how to repair your credit. If you have collections, if you have collections, if you have late payments, if you have debt, if you have whatever it is, if you have repossessions, all of that can be repaired over a year or 2 or 3 years. It takes 7 years or 8 years for all negatives to completely fall off, but you can repair your credit to the point where you can actually use it still. And some people have 500 scores. I know I released a credit course about 5 months ago, and a lot of people that went through that started repairing their credit. And I had people that were saying, I had a 550 and I'm at a 650, and all of these little things. And it's literally so important that you guys fix your credit. It is so important. People are saying you can delete it. Some situations you can. Sometimes the creditors are good and they know how to not let it get deleted. And that's how it is. But to fix your guys' credit and to eventually get into exotics, so I'm going to start with the people that have bad credit. So for the people that have bad credit, this is what you're going to want to do. If you have collections, if you have repossessions, late payments, whatever it is, the first thing you need to do is work on your collections. Collections are a bitch. They're going to knock your score down a massive amount of points. And if you don't fix those first, you're not going to be able to use your credit whatsoever, because banks are going to look at collections fuck, dude, this guy has an open collections on him. Why would we give him money for a car? The reason banks are really hesitant to leave car loans now is because so many people default on the loan And if they give you a loan too high for what the car is worth, when they put it to auction, the car, whenever a bank's looking at the car, so let's say you have a $100,000 Bentley you want to get, right? In retrospect, though, the car is only worth 85 grand at an auction, but it's worth 90,000. It's worth $100,000 on the market. The problem with this situation is the bank is not going to look at that car and say it's worth $100,000. They're going to look at that car and saying it's worth $85,000, which is what the auction price of the car is, because they're not going to try to wholesale. They're not going to send it to a dealer. They're going to send it to auction to wholesale it once they repossess it. So a bank's not going to give you a car loan unless the loan to value adds up. So what I mean by that is if you have a car that's $100,000, it's only worth at auction 85 grand because that's what the bank is going to do with it if they repossess. They're not going to give you that loan without a big down payment because the loan to value has to add up. So you have to factor in sales tax, all of these things, and people do not understand this. People do not understand this, and the problem is if you don't understand this, it's like understanding business. If you don't understand business, you're not going to become successful. If you don't understand credit, you're not going to be able to use it for lifestyle and investing. And if you don't have good credit, that is something of the utmost importance because real wealth comes from, real estate. And I'm not talking just houses, I'm talking apartment buildings. I'm working on buying my first apartment building this year. And if I didn't have good credit, it would be literally impossible. If I didn't have solid credit, if I didn't have solid history, it would be physically impossible. So for the people that have bad credit, let's start with collections. Collections is a fucking bitch. And if you do not understand how to get collections off your credit the correct way, so if you have collections, the first thing you want to do is you want to write down all the collections, get the phone numbers of the collections, and you're going to want to call them. And you're going to want to say pretty much this script. You're going to want to say, hey, how's it going? I just tried to buy a car. I pulled my credit. I saw I had a collections. The company never contacted me. I'd like to pay this in full right now if you can take it off my credit completely. If you do not say that exactly, they're going to tell you, oh, you can pay it, but we're not going to take it off your credit. If you say it exactly like that, the creditors will most likely, 95% of the time, say we will remove it off of your credit if you paid in full right now on the phone. I've had collections on my account like 2 or 3 times for legitimate reasons where I had no idea that I owed them money because whatever it is, I moved or whatever it was when I was a kid, it was a school and some other things. I did that and it took it off my credit completely. And so there's been a couple situations and I've helped a bunch of people remove collections off their credit like that. Now, if that doesn't work, you need to consult, number one, a bankruptcy attorney. That's a good choice. Or you can go to a company called, a couple companies. There's a few credit repair companies. There's Lexington Law, FES, those companies. And they're going to start disputing it over and over and over every few months until the company, decides, hey, we're going to let this fall off. But it must be paid. If it's an open collections account, they're not going to let it fall off your credit, okay? Number 2, late payments. Same thing. You need to go to one of these companies. Do not hire a credit repair company. They don't do anything, and they're going to be a couple $1,000s for ass. You need to you need to go to a solid place that is not some place trying to charge you, etc., etc., etc. Now, if you guys need to be disputing pretty much, and this is not me telling you guys to do fraud, but the whole thing is, people keep texting me. The whole thing is, I need to get a second phone just for Facebook Live so no one texts me. The thing is you cannot dispute something that's legitimate. So if you do not know it, then you can dispute it off your credit. Okay? Do you understand that? Now, most of these places, so let's say you go buy a car, they're going to run your credit about 3 or 4 times to 5 times to 6 times, depending on if the first bank or the second bank decided to take the deal and take the loan. If they ran your credit 6 times, you're going to have 6 inquiries. Each inquiry can take your score down from 0 to 6 points to 10 points. And so if you get your score ran 7 times by a dealership, what they will not hesitate to do, because they're trying to make the money and make the deal. They don't give a fuck about your credit. If they run your credit 7 times, your score could drop 20 points. So you have to know how to, kind of fight the inquiries and all that stuff. The things that bring your credit down, guys, are what's up, Julian? Things that bring your credit down are, collections, inquiries, late payments, utilization, and all of those things. If you do not know how to master them, you're not going to be able to know how to use your credit. I use my credit cards all the time, but a month before I go buy a car, 30 days before, what I'll do is I'll pay my credit cards off completely. So by that 40 days, hits, my credit utilization is at 0%. Now, if your credit utilization is anything over 0%, it's going to start knocking down your score. If it is over 30%, it's going to heavily knock down your score. Does that make sense? And so you have to master, utilizations. You have to master, if you're getting your credit repaired, first step is, again, collections. I think I fixed the lighting issue. The first step is collections. The second step is inquiries. Third step is late payments. Then you need to start building solid history again. So what I mean by that is if you do not have new accounts and you do not have credit cards, rotating every month, because what happens is they want to see the length of your credit. They want to see what the length of your credit is, how many accounts you have revolving with solid situations. All of that goes into a giant pot, which creates your credit score. Now, a credit score does not equal buying power. This is what a lot of people have a misconception. I know friends that are 18 that have 750 scores. I had a 750 score when I was 18 and I had one credit card. So understand that one credit card is not going to your score needs depth. And what I mean by that is you need to have, 6, 7. If you guys only have one credit card, you guys should be grinding to get 3, 4, 5 credit cards. You guys should be upping your buying power because a bank wants to see so many revolving lines of credit that when they look at you, they say, okay, this is a surefire bet. I'm going to give this guy the loan. Okay? So when it comes to buying an exotic, a lot of people have misconception that if you have really good credit, you're going to get away with like 5%. In most cases, that's not true because 5% down. In most cases, that's not true. In 99% of cases, that's not true unless you live in a no vehicle sales tax state. Because what's going to happen is when you buy a car, you're going to have sales tax. So let's say we're trying to buy a $100,000 Bentley. In California, we have 8% sales tax. So that means the car is now not $100,000. The car is $108,000. Okay, you guys have to understand this. So now, when the bank, let's say I'm trying to put 10 grand down on a $100,000 car, I have A1 credit. Well, the problem is on a $100,000 car, let's say the dealership's making 2 grand on the deal. The car's worth 98, they're selling it for 100. They got to make their money, that's business. And you have 8% sales tax. So a $108,000 car, you're looking at $108,000 with sales tax. That goes to the DMV. You're going to have 2 grand to the dealership, which means you are paying $108,000 for a $98,000 car. Does that make sense? You are now 10 grand negative. So if you only put 10 grand down on this car, the bank is going to say, this is not a good deal for me because it's high risk. Now, you have to understand this. If the car is 98 grand market price, that means auction price, they're going to go off what they're going to wholesale auction it. Let's say it's only worth 85 grand to them. Okay? The car's only worth 85 grand to a bank because they're going to wholesale it if they repossess it. They don't give a fuck about the market price. They're going to wholesale it if they repossess it. So that means you are now paying $108,000 for a car worth 85 grand to the bank. So this is how a down payment works. Now, we both, from what I just told you, the car's worth 98 grand. Dealership's making 2 grand, car's priced at 100, but we're going to have to pay 108 in California because of sales tax. If we only put down on a $108,000 car with sales tax, 10, 15, 20 grand. The problem is the bank doesn't see that car as a good investment because of the loan to value. Loan to value means the bank wants an adequate amount of equity in the car to give you the loan. So if the bank doesn't see that, they're not going to give you a loan. So whatever people are telling you, I know a lot of people preach and sell trade lines. I am so advocate against trade lines because some people, are like, dude, they changed my credit, this, that, the other. The problem with trade lines is you're using someone else's credit history, which means if they, for some reason, they have the worst family problems, they have medical bills, and they miss a payment on the card that they give you a trade line. The definition of a trade line is, let's say I have an American Express card that I've had for 3 years, which I have. Any of you guys on this call, I could say, I'm going to add you as an authorized user on my American Express card. Now, the problem with this is you now get my entire credit history on your report. I'm going to tell you guys the catch-22 of all this. You're going to now get my entire credit history put onto your report because I put you as an authorized user. Now, there's 2 problems with this. Number 1, the banks do not value trade lines at all. They look at a trade line like 10% of an actual credit card in your name because Like 5, 10 years ago, the credit reporting systems didn't really see trade lines the way they are now. Now people are scheming the system so much with trade lines that they can actually see when it's a trade line. So the banks do not value trade lines the same as an actual revolving account on your credit. Now the second problem with a trade line is, let's say you paid $2,500 for this guy's credit history. It's 10 years of American Express history. The problem with this is, let's say he has horrible family problems, misses a couple payments, guess what? That hits your credit because you got his entire credit history. So if you got a couple trade lines and these people default on them and go into collections, that means you are going to be in collections. That's going to bring your score down 100, 150 points. And let's say you bought trade lines 3 years ago, you're about to buy your first apartment building. Right? You're about to buy your first apartment building. You know, if it's your parents, guys, it's one thing. If it's your parents or if it's like a family member, you can kind of control the situation. But if you buy a trade line from a random person and they default on it, your credit's going to drop 200 points. And it could happen at the worst time. It could happen 10 years from after you buy it. But your score could go in the total slumps because of some random person you bought a trade line from. So I am an advocate against trade lines in all aspects. People make a lot of money selling them because I can add like 8 authorized users onto my American Express account. And if I said, you know, any of you guys send me $1,000 and I will add you as an authorized user. Well, let's say I go broke and I can't pay my payment on my American Express. Then you understand what's happening. You're not going to be able to fix your credit. You're just going to be fucked. So that's why I'm an advocate against trade lines. Now back to the loan. So people are going to try to say, you know, do trade lines. Sign up for a credit repair company. Someone told me that, you know, he's trying to buy an exotic and, you know, sorry, I got a phone call. He tried to say that, you know, there's a credit repair company his buddy owns that's for $5,500 they're going to fix his credit. All of that is horseshit because the problem is they're going to do the same thing most of the time. They even go to a company like Lexington Law to fix your credit or FES. They're just going to take it, sell the $300, pocket the $5,200, and they're going to just send you to another credit repair company. They're going to hope for the best. They're going to send you the updates that the other company sends them. It's outsourcing. The problem with this is these people have your information, and on the black market, you can sell a whole chunk of people's credit repair information for a good chunk of change. So all they have to do is go sell all this information, make a buck, and then you can have identity theft the next day. Which is why I will never tell anyone to go to a less than reputable company to do credit repair. This is the fucking party. This is the problem. So this is how people get their identity stolen, by going to random credit repair companies, and just hoping for the best because their friend recommended them or whatever. None of that's gonna work. You have to build your credit up. So if you missed it and you guys are new on the call, rewatch this when it ends. I talked about kind of getting your credit out the slump. The first thing you guys need to do is collections, inquiries, late payments, repossessions. All of that needs to be worked on. And if it can't, you need to go to a third-party company like Lexington Law, and maybe they can help you, or go to a bankruptcy attorney. Sometimes they can negotiate it in the back end, not you calling the company, but an attorney calling the company, and they can help work a situation getting that off your credit for, you know, whatever compensation. Now, once you have your credit, the negatives removed, you need to start building positive history. And if you don't have good credit, you have horrible credit, you need to start getting secured credit cards. Or if you have credit cards, you need to keep paying them and try to open more. And you need to do your best to get in a car as soon as possible, because a car loan is going to have massive weighing on the it weighs massively on you know, the rebuilding of your credit. So if you don't have car loans, that's why my credit's so strong, is because of how many cars I've had. Now, I could have held on to my cars a little longer than I did, and I'd have even a better score. And if I go into bankruptcy, do I file Chapter 11 or 13? Dude, I'm not talking about bankruptcy. I hope none of you guys file bankruptcy. And so, you know, if you have, the first thing you need to do once you have the credit card situation handled is get a fucking car loan. And whether it's a 10 grand car or a 20 grand car, you need a year of revolving payments from multiple lines to start repairing your credit. So, sorry, my puppy. So, if you do not, you know, follow these, you're not going to be able to ever use your credit for investing. Because if you guys are trying to buy $1 million house, you know, or $3 million apartment building, which is what I'm working on this year, you're never going to be at the point where a creditor is even going to take you serious. Now, you might be able to buy it through a corporation or whatever, and that's another loophole. But if you do not do that, You know, you're not going to be able to buy a house. You're not going to be able to do any of that stuff. So you can be a wannabe entrepreneur for the rest of your life, or you could take it serious and start building your guys' credit now. If you don't build your credit, you're going to, you know, by the time you're 30 and you don't have real estate and you don't have assets and you need credit to do that, you're going to be so far behind. And this is why so many people, there's so much misinformation about credit, you know, trade lines, this, and, you know, credit repair companies and all of this stuff. Guys, you have to just have a basic fundamental understanding of credit to be able to move forward. I mean, I have friends that are 20. Jalen's on this call. I keep seeing him like it. Jalen's on this call. He's 20, and he has better credit than, you know, 30, 40, 50-year-olds because of the concepts that most people just can't seem to find, because the problem is you're not going to find this information online. You know, you're not going to just, and it's out there, but you're not going to, most people aren't going to take the time to scour the forums and do this, do that, just to rebuild their credit, and they just think it's you know, nonsense, but it's not. What's up, Patrick? Sorry, I'm gonna go through these comments. Do these apply to the UK? Honestly, they should. It should just be basic stuff. I think credit's generally similar in most countries. Yeah, no worries. Any advice on purchasing a house, negotiations in town with Bay Area prices? I don't know. Like, I was going to buy a house this year. And this is the problem I started running into. I feel like a house is a good way towards mediocrity. And what I mean by that is, like, it's going to take up purchasing power on your credit. And if someone's buying a house for the first time, you know, and they have family and whatever, I just feel like it's better to rent where you live. I think it's better to rent where you live because, number one, you don't got to deal with much. And if you break shit, it's not really that big of a deal besides, you know, carpet and stuff. But, you know, all your guys' capital should go to investing no matter who you are. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you don't have, if you don't know what to do with your money, you guys start just focusing. And it sounds ridiculous, but you can buy apartment buildings in other states for cheap. You guys can, I actually like that question. What's the first steps for an 18-year-old? Do you recommend canceling a credit card? No, it's really bad on your credit to do that. To cancel a card, it's really bad. What's the first steps for an 18-year-old to build credit? Okay, I like this because this is exactly what I went through, and if I could redo it, I would do it again. This is exactly what I do. If I'm 18, I have a clean slate. First thing I would do is I'd go open up 3 secured credit cards. If you can get approved for a student credit card by Wells Fargo, Bank of America, any of those, I would do that first because they like to give students credit cards with $1,000, $1,500 limits. If you can't, for whatever reason, then what you're going to want to do is go to 3 different banks and open up secured cards, $300 to $500 down. And what that's going to do is they're going to hold on to $300, $500 of your dollars, and they're going to give you a $1,000 credit limit. I even have 2 of those still on my credit now. And what that does, it gives you another line of revolving credit. Okay? Gives you another line, which will give you history. Second step, 6 to 12 months after you start building your credit, is you want to get your first car. I would try to do it without a cosigner. If you need a cosigner, you know, for whatever car you're getting, use it. I would try to do it without because it gives more impact on your credit. But I recommend secured cards if you're young, if you're a kid. If you can get credit cards, though, I recommend getting a non-secured because you have a bigger limit and it's gonna weigh more. But you have to get a car loan because it just holds so much value. Once you have 3 secured cards, a car loan, a year after that you can get a more expensive car. What that's going to do is it's going to show banks that, hey, he has had a $30,000 loan, then he had a $50,000 loan, then he had an $80,000 car loan, then he had a $120,000 car loan. After that, you don't need another car. You know, this is my stance on exotic cars. If you can use them for marketing, they're cool. And if you like cars, they're cool. But the problem is people get caught up. People get either on one side of the spectrum or the other. They want, you know, 15 exotic cars without, you know, having massive assets, Or they don't want an exotic car at all because it's a waste. Well, in our generation, to say an exotic car is a waste with social media and marketing is nonsense. If you don't have an exotic car and you are a leader or a internet marketer, you're just, it's not that you're stupid, it's just that you're missing out on so much money, because what attracts attention nowadays is cars. The best entrepreneurs that I see, Grant Cardone, he did it a little bit without a car, but he has so much, he has so much substance to market that that most people will never be able to do anything near that because of how much he invested into real estate. But for example, Ty, all of these guys online, they made so much of their following from exotic cars. So to say exotic cars are bad, it's just nonsense. Favorite credit cards, Amex for protection. You have to have an Amex, because if you're buying things for your business or whatever and you get screwed, Amex will always side with you no matter what the situation is. Maybe there's once in a while they won't. As long as there's something, as long as there's something to go on, they're going to give you your money back, which is huge, because there's been times where I've done a $3,000 purchase and I got screwed and the company wouldn't help me. Called Amex, got me my money back the same day. So Amex for protection. For points, depends on, Nathan, I know you're a drop shipper, so, the different websites. Overstock has an Overstock card that so much massive cash back and discounts, and Amazon is good too, and so all of them are really good. Let's see. Is it bad if I pay off credit earlier? I'm trying to build a car loan earlier. You could pay it off almost completely. Just have a payment for at least a year. That's what you want to do. If you pay it off early, the banks are just going to be like, why does this guy get a car loan and then not have it for more than a year? They're going to be like, this isn't a good buy for us, because they make their money on the interest. So if you don't have a car loan for more than a year, the good banks are going to be like, I don't know if I want to do this. I have a 440 collection on my account. It's closed now, but it's not open. Does that mean I missed my chance to pay it back? Miguel, what you're going to want to do, and I said this earlier, is you're going to want to call the collections. The number should be on your credit report. You're going to call the collections, and you're going to say this: hey, I just tried to get a car. I didn't see that they ran my credit, showed me I had a collections. I didn't know about this. The company never told me I owed money. If I pay this collections right now, will you remove this off my credit? 90% of the time, they're going to say, yes, we will. If you get that 10% of the time, it sucks. You're going to have to go to, one of these other companies to get it off. But you have to pay it either way. If you don't pay it, you're going to be, you're fucking yourself either way. If you're 18 without any credit. Nick, this 18 without any credit, I actually just told you what to do. So if you want to rewatch the video and just go to the, this point, you'll see Open Sky for secure credit card. Alright guys, I'm jumping off here. I'm glad to give you guys some free value. Happy holidays. Hope you guys have a new year. Good new year. And let's get it. Make sure you guys are building your credit, because without that, I don't know where I'd be. Because credit has allowed me to move into the best places. It has allowed me to have the best cars. It allowed me to have the best lifestyle memberships and the best lifestyle period. On top of it, if you're in e-commerce and you do drop shipping, credit cards are going to give you massive rewards, massive points. If you guys are in e-commerce and you guys do not have credit cards that are giving you cash back, you're missing out on a lot of money. 3% of $100,000 gross is $3,000. So, when is my next dropshipping video? It's probably going to be tomorrow or the next day. I'm finally getting back into the groove of social media. I want to just take a little bit of a break. I was going really hard. So, alright guys, bouncing out of here. Peace.